Farmers today are facing rising costs, volatile markets, and extreme weather. The A Better Way to Farm podcast digs into strategies to help you take control of farm inputs and maximize profit so your farm can thrive for generations. Remember to take advantage of our free resources at abetterwaytofarm.com. Now, from America's Heartland, here's your host.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays from all of us here at A Better Way to Farm. We are working our way through the 12 days of nutrients, and today is day 10, and we're going to talk about iron. And so as I grab the rules of the essential nutrients here, it talks about the fact that iron is obviously important for the formation of chlorophyll. It acts as an oxygen carrier, and it also it has a lot to do with reactions involving cell divisions and growth. And so it is a nutrient that we don't want to be deficient in. We know a lot of the guys in the high pHs fight it from a chlorosis standpoint. When we do that, our corn, our beans, our everything get pale green, maybe even turn white. And when we do that, we don't get the significant yield that we're after. We end up with a significant yield decrease. Starting out in the Midwest Agronomy Handbook, and as they're talking about iron, again, coming back in just to say what is it that it does. It's essential for the formation of chlorophyll and for photosynthesis. It is an activating element in several enzyme systems. So like magnesium, it flips the switch to turn on the enzyme systems. It's also very important for respiration and other oxidation systems of the plants and plays a vital part in the oxygen carrying system of those plants. As we look at the Midwest Handbook, and the first thing it does is it's going to tell us what it is that the iron would look like if we have an iron-starved plant. And obviously, the first thing you notice is the chlorosis of the leaves, with the youngest leaves being affected first. Again, this is one of those that the yellow shows up at the top, not at the bottom. Points and margins of the leaf will keep their green color the longest. The veins will remain the same, but they'll turn yellow. So we'll have that intervenal striping. However, it will not be out on the edges nor on the tips. And that's a pretty good indicator that the problem that we have is iron. Oftentimes, the affected part of the leaf is curved in an upward direction. So it'll like cup. You'll see some cupping, and that'll be a good indicator that you've got that problem in there. One of the things I thought was interesting out of this Western Fertilizer Handbook, it talks about the iron chelate used as a foliage spray has been quite successful in overcoming chlorosis due to iron deficiency. It seems like the sequestering agents, the chelates, will be of distinct value into agriculture in holding the minor elements in a compound which will have low toxicity to the foliage and still be available for assimilation into the plants. Yes, once again, we are very excited about diamine ethylene tetracetic acid because it is a great chelator and does have acetic acid right there ready to rock and roll for the guys that want to use it. Coming out of the Fertilizer Handbook, one of our old standbys, this was the very first book we got as we started down this journey and started learning how to do some of these things and started studying. They say that iron deficiencies reduce yields, especially on the calcareous soils in the western United States. Only a small fraction of the total iron in the soils is available to the plants, and this fraction decreases with an increase in soil pH. Iron deficiencies of crops generally appear as a yellowing of the intervenal portion of the leaves, a condition called iron chlorosis. Leaves of iron-deficient plants are pale green to yellow, may even appear white, depending on the crop and the degree of the chlorosis. It is corrected mainly by foliar sprays. We're going to come back into why that is here in a little bit, but mainly by foliar sprays. Several sprays, 7 to 14 days apart, may be needed for more severe chlorosis. Some growers have found that some synthetic chelates or natural organic complexes of iron are much more effective than ferrous sulfate as a foliar spray. A surfactant should be included with most foliar sprays to improve leaf adherence and iron absorption. It's a product that's a little bit hard to go into the plant, and we want to be doing everything we can to help force that in there. Soil applications of iron sources are usually not effective for the crops because applied iron quickly reverts to the forms unavailable to the plant. Some crops, especially grain sorghum, are highly susceptible to iron chlorosis. For you guys growing sorghum and wanting to get a better yield, iron is something definitely that you would want to check in your soil, and I would encourage you to do that in a tissue test as well, because we don't want to be deficient, knowing that iron seems to be something that the sorghum plant is extremely sensitive to and has a great need for. Reading out of Schrieffer's book, From the Soil Up, he's talking about the fact that anaerobic soil organisms take their oxygen from certain iron compounds. We refer to their end product as a form of reduced iron. Reduced iron can cause several reactions because many plants tend to overfeed on it. Excessive iron intake can darken and plug the nodes of the corn. This plugging of the nutrient channels progressively slows the upward movement of nutrients into the plants. Progressive plugging of the corn nodes causes the plant to age prematurely and die. The inner nodes will remain high in moisture, and the sugars inviting the invasion of soil fungi and stalk rot. The interior of a healthy maturing corn stalk will not backlog water or sugars and will have the appearance of being filled with dry styrofoam. Node plugging and stalk rot reflect a breakdown in the soil-plant relationship. Guys, the excessive intake of iron is going to really create some problems, and we want to make sure that we're keeping track of this off of both sides. Iron is an essential element in the building of the chlorophyll molecule. Without a single molecule of magnesium, there can be no unit of chlorophyll. Iron appears to be necessary for fixing magnesium into the chloroplast. So the fact we have magnesium doesn't do the job. We still have to have iron. A lack of iron causes a yellowing or iron chlorosis due to the lack of chlorophyll. Without chlorophyll, the plant cannot produce sugar, and without sugar from the factory, the plant cannot survive. Iron deficiency or iron chlorosis occurs mostly on calcareous alkaline soils with a pH of 7.5 or above. Iron deficiency is most likely to occur during very early growth under cold or wet soil conditions. Pay attention here. Excessive phosphate applications can also trigger iron deficiency in acidic soils. For those of us fighting the low pH side of things, too much phosphate, this is another penalty that we pay for too much of one nutrient. There's no one nutrient fix. There is not. Iron management, as well as with manganese management, is greatly influenced by soil temperature and root development. A large root system is the best insurance policy against deficiency. Soil temperature also directly relates to root growth, making iron management as well as manganese management absolutely necessary during the critical early growth periods on certain soils. Iron management is most effective as a foliar because this assures instant utilization. Iron sulfate or other compounds applied to dry starter bands may not be utilized when they are needed due to cold or wet soil conditions. Iron chelates are available and very effective as foliar sprays to correct these deficiencies. Guys, there's a lot of things at play here. We know that iron and manganese have a relationship. Too much of one, not enough of the other. We know that temperature plays a part in this. And I thought it was interesting that they said one of the things that really helped us was a large root system. Guys, a robust root system is always our friend. Always our friend. And so what do we want to do? We want to do everything we can to drive those roots and to make them better. Lastly here, because Neil's got, I think, some of the best stuff on this. And as I get into Neil's book, I just want to remind you, you can get the table of ratings, reference ID 164 from Midwest Labs. And in regards to iron, they're saying that if you are in the 0 to 5 is very low, 6 to 10 is low, and 11 to 16 is medium, 17 to 25 is high, and very high would be above 25. And so those are some starting points for you, but knowing full well that iron in the soil may or may not turn into iron in the plant. And I'm really a big fan of that tissue test to confirm that. Sharing from Neil here, iron availability starts to decrease between a pH of 6 and 7, meaning there is trouble if there's barely enough iron as the calcium is raised and the iron level decreases. So when we lime and we're trying to get that pH to 6.5 or 6.8, that's important because it makes most other nutrients more available. It's friendlier for the soil bacteria. There are a lot of things that work better there. Iron is not one of them. And so we have to be very cautious knowing that we may have to supplement some iron as a result of what we do with the lime raising the pH. We're well aware that anytime that we have too much of one, we really screw it up and end up with not enough of the other. And he talks about that at great length in his book. I encourage you to read this book. I know a lot of you already have Hands-on Agronomy. As we start looking at all of the different things that iron will do, He says, iron may be used as an example. As the most copious required trace metal, an iron level of 80 parts per million is nevertheless considered fully adequate in the tissues of many plants. With such an iron content, a big hay crop of 5,000 pounds of dry matter would contain less than 8 ounces of iron. 5,000 pounds of dry matter in hay would only have 8 ounces of iron in that whole 2.5 tons. We don't need a lot of it, but we need the right amount, like everything else. It's not a matter of using too much. It's just a matter of getting the right things in the right place at the right time. He goes on here. Iron chelates can be used as a soil amendment or in a foliar application, but they only take care of the problem for 1 year. Guys, I want to point this out. An iron problem is something we're probably not going to fix in the soil. I got people say, hey, I just put on a lot of iron sulfate. 100 pounds, 200 pounds iron sulfate. A, that's very expensive. And B, the most likely place to have an iron problem is in a high pH soil. The higher the pH, the more the problem. The higher the pH, the more it rips the iron away from the sulfate, and the iron gets tied up by the calcium. And all of a sudden, we're wasting money here. Farming around this is far more economical as a way to manage that. As for the deficiencies, it will depend on more than just where your iron level is, because iron and manganese work together. Personally, I'd like to see the iron at 200 plus. Once you get below 100 parts per million, there's reason for concern. And if manganese is 75 and iron is 70, that is trouble. For the best results, iron should always be higher than manganese. If manganese is 125, we don't want iron at 100. At any case, the iron levels should be higher than the manganese levels. And guys, this is where the extraction method is really, really, really important. Because we need we need them using that DTPA extraction method, because we feel that is the most accurate, and you can make the most accurate recommendations off of that. And the most effective thing to do, I still think, is to tissue test and to address those chlorosis type situations. Sulfur will help increase the iron availability in the soil. So let us say that to this point, low iron on the soil test is being offset by enough available iron from the use of the sulfur and the present iron level in the subsoil. Adding lime will always reduce the available iron. So the lime applied will have an adverse effect on the iron the plants have there to use at the present time. This can result in iron deficiency in any one of the next 3 years after lime is applied, because it takes a long time to realize the full effects of the lime after it is applied. When the soil test shows deficient iron and the availability of iron from the subsoil is unknown, and the manganese level is higher than the iron level, or lime has been applied, that will adversely affect the available iron levels. Adding iron to the soil will be highly recommended. Guys, everything that I've been able to read and talk to on this would seem to be that they would really kind of like to see that iron at about 1.5 to maybe 2 times the manganese level. And some of us, this impacts us a lot of different ways. On the field I have right across the road, our iron is about 8 times what our manganese is. Manganese and iron fight to get into the plant, just like potassium and magnesium. Manganese and iron have a fist fight. And if there's too much of one, it will always be at the expense of the other. We know that copper and manganese can have some issues too. But when we're looking at the iron and manganese relationship, when we have way too much iron, like I have in my soil across the road, then I'm going to have to really make sure and pay attention and supplement that manganese. And every year is different. It was weird because this year, for the first time, when we pulled tissue test, we were a little bit iron deficient. We had to foliar feed about 4 ounces of iron to the acre at the V3 stage. I don't understand it because the iron in the soil is outrageously high, but I'm going to presume that it was tying up with something else and it wasn't releasing at the time that we needed it to, and we don't want that hidden hunger. Guys, this is a nutrient that we want to pay attention to, like all the others. I don't believe that the answer is just calcium. As a matter of fact, just calcium, the application of just calcium and a lot of it, that's going to really negatively impact the availability of iron. And guys, we know that iron is essential because without it, the magnesium doesn't stick around to form that central part of that molecule for the chlorophyll. And we want chlorophyll. We want dark green plants. And so again, I see the bandwagon come through. Oh, all you need is phosphorus. Oh, all you need is nitrogen. Oh, all you need is calcium. Guys, we know that too much phosphorus reacts and hurts us in the iron area. We know that too much phosphorus makes us zinc deficient. So we know that too much nitrogen is going to hurt us in regards to potassium going into the plant. It's going to hurt us in regards to zinc being sufficient in the plant. Guys, all of these things are important, and we need to be paying attention to them. And the overuse of any single nutrient is going to hurt us. The overuse of iron is definitely going to hurt us. That's why I don't like to see somebody make a shotgun approach and say, well, we saw iron over here. We saw it do this. You should put it on because this guy got 10 bushel using it. That guy needed it. You may not. You apply iron, you might get a 10 bushel decrease. Tissue test and soil test, guys. We've said it about maybe 1 million and 1.5 million times. And we'll probably say it another 1.5 million between now and the time the Lord takes us home. So guys, we'll be moving forward here, looking at some of these other micronutrients in the very near future. We're still going to talk about manganese. We're still going to talk about zinc. Thank you for tuning in. We'll look forward to sharing the other nutrients with you.